To understand the roots of Hamilton Distillery in Tucson, you have to go past the giant grain bin, past the multiple malting tanks, even past the barrels to the very back where this beautiful custom furniture sets the scene. You see, Stephen Paul was once a custom craftsman of fine mesquite furniture, and it was while at home drinking scotch that he started thinking about making scotch.
We are scotch drinkers, and I would always take my mesquite scraps home to barbecue with. And I would always only half-jokingly tell my wife, those are our profits going up in smoke. And so one night we're drinking scotch and barbecuing, and she said, why couldn't we malt barley over mesquite instead of peat?
Sounded like a good idea, but of course, a lot of great ideas sound good while drinking scotch, but Paul says his ideas sounded just as good the next morning.
I've always had this notion that I could execute ideas, that I could turn ideas into reality. And I failed a lot of times, but that's how it works.
Stephen was moved by the spirits, so he hired two cats to be keepers of the cask, you might say, brought in his top dog, and with the help of some investors, Whiskey Del Bach was born.
Is making whiskey a complicated process?
It's pretty complicated. There's a lot of parts to it. We start with malting. We malt our own barley, which I think is pretty unique. There are only a handful of distilleries in the country that malt their own barley. Then we make a rudimentary beer. We have to distill it. There's the barreling. There's just a lot of components to what is finally poured into a glass.
These smaller 15-gallon barrels have been one of the breakthroughs in the growth of craft distilleries. One of the reasons craft whiskey is becoming almost as popular as craft beer. People love local. So with the higher wood-to-liquid ratio, the aging process has dropped to about 6 months from the normal 2 years for a 53-gallon barrel, making it a much more affordable process, although this is not a cheap way to make a living.
Is there a lot to do once it's in the barrel? You just sit back and count your money?
No, we have to monitor what's going on inside the barrel. For example, this barrel was recently filled, so it's not going to be very dark. It's going to be a little rough. It's going to be quite rough, actually, in terms of the nose and the palate. You can see it's very light in color. This is a very young whiskey. It has a long ways to go.
And this is what it's all about. The whiskey has been bottled, it's ready to pour. I was telling you before, Stephen, I don't know a lot about whiskey, but tell us the differences in these so I can at least look smart.
Okay. Well, we have 3 different single malt whiskeys. We were using a Scottish model of whiskey making. That was our goal. The first thing we ever did was tried to make just a single malt whiskey without a mesquite component in it. And so this is our unsmoked classic. This was the brainchild of the whole thing, our mesquite smoked Dorado. We were looking for a regional whiskey. On this, you'll get a note of mesquite smoke, very, very Sonoran desert campfire.
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is different.
Yeah, some vanilla notes and caramel notes on this too.
It's like campfire in a bottle.
It's delicious.
In more ways than one. That was a pun, my friends. Okay, what's the last one?
This is our clear mesquite smoked, so it has never been in a barrel. The barrels give it not only flavor notes, but the color. And the nose on this is very different than what'll hit your tongue.
Well, we've certainly enjoyed our visit here, and thank you for sharing.
Thanks for coming.
Cheers.